like to first of all commend you, Retapelo, on a great initiative as the BSE. The timing is so apt for this conference, and also the need, I must say, is great. We definitely do need to start working towards diversifying our economy as Botswana. And furthermore, as Bank SBC, a part of Atlas Mara, we really do pledge to continue our support for this initiative with the BSE, as we have previously alluded. So now, I've been asked to present on how stock markets are a catalyst for growth and how you can utilize the stock markets to pursue international opportunities. Okay. This is the agenda that I will follow. And then talking about the first part, I think you aptly touched on it, Mr. CEO, and you well articulated how stock markets are definitely a great catalyst for growth. And I mean, we all know about debt. There are many bankers here, as well as the bonds, how those are also means by which one can raise capital. But we all know that with regards to stock markets, a well-run and established company with a traceable track record in a specific market will be able to attract great investment capital on the stock market, thus raise much more substantial capital than they would maybe via debt. And also, just to further elaborate, you spoke about this. What does the stock market give you access to? Definitely, you do get that much more substantial capital, like I've said, and as well as facilitate that growth that your company may be looking to. And also, what does it do? It mobilizes also those savings and towards investments, and also facilitates wealth distribution, and also provides your small investors that may be wanting to partake in the capital markets as well. But now delving immediately into why we believe that definitely the stock market is a great catalyst for growth. One of the things that when we're preparing for this presentation we thought of was, look, let's give an example. Let's show that it actually does work. That when you go into the stock market, it can definitely attract or ensure that it gives you growth. If you look at Korea, in 1996, their market cap was sitting at about $138 billion, right? And then now, if you look at 2005, it was sitting at $717 billion. If you now look at, compare it with South Africa, during the same period, so we saw the 420% growth that Korea was able to garner, and then you look at South Africa. South Africa, on the other hand, great place. I mean, it had just attained independence. You would have thought a great market. People would be wanting to get into that space. However, it only achieved 180. What are the things, what set Korea apart from South Africa? Definitely the fast economic growth attracted investor capital. Also, the stock market in Korea had well-known names or well-known companies, your Hyundai, your Kia, therefore attracted foreign capital. Companies wanted to invest in that market. And ease of doing business, I know we love to talk about this as Botswana. And ease of doing business, according to the World Bank in 2015, it's a ranking of about, it ranks about 189 countries. Korea right now is at number 5, SA 43, and we are trailing behind at 74. Definitely something that we need to look at if we are embarking on this listings drive. What are we doing as a country to make sure that we up our rankings in terms of ease of doing business? We all know some of the issues that our investors have. I'm not going to delve into it. We all know, and we all know what we need to do. I think as either the regulators or whichever entities that deal with anything that to do with companies. And also, just to further elaborate, I think this measure was also spoken about, the issue of market cap versus GDP growth. I just wanted to share with you this graph on what the performance of Korea during this period has been, right now up to 2015. So if you look at GDP growth, it more than tripled from about 600 billion now to 101.4 billion. South Africa also done quite well, stunningly well. But I just wanted once again to show you that it can be done. And who says Botswana can't do it? So you see a small market, concerted effort, and so we are starting on the right footing, if I may say so, Retaben. And then now I'd like us to just look at the various stock markets that we have in Africa. We all know prior 1989, there were only a handful of African stock markets. 5 only existed in the sub-Saharan Africa, 3 stock markets in North Africa, but to date we've got about 29 exchanges in Africa. And if you look at the maturity of those stock markets, if you just have a look at this graph, you'll see that most of the companies that are listed in our stock markets, I mean even Mauritius and your Moroccos, there are not that many counters. You have about at least less than 100 if you're looking from your side, about 0 to 100 for your Ugandas and your Mauritius and your Kenyas, which are meant to be great, which are definitely great investment destinations in your Tanzania. So lots of scope for growth. And also, if you now look at South Africa probably makes up about 90% of all the market cap in Africa. So definitely, there's a lot of scope for growth in terms of what we can do and what we can achieve in terms of our stock markets. And just to delve deeper and just give you some information on that, most African markets, we all know, are not yet mature with very few listed companies. If I can give you an example of one country I've been frequenting of late, which is Zambia. Apologies, my CEO from the Zambia Stock Exchange. But if you look at the Zambia Stock Exchange, right now, ShopRite dominates, right? They have like 53% of that stock market. And the balance is just a few counters. So definitely, it is almost illiquid, right? It's still immature. And then in some markets, trading occurs in only a few stocks, and then also the smaller stocks, because nobody knows much about them. Therefore, there's also there are disclosure deficiencies. Therefore, as a result, nobody is interested in investing in those. Therefore, what does this graph show? It shows you once again the opportunities that we have and the fact that there is opportunity for us to have more listings. If you look at Botswana, we are ranking well below in terms of turnover, the market cap versus GDP growth, right? So in terms of what has been achieved, what has some stock markets been able to achieve? In Ghana, the stock market financed about 12% of total asset growth of listed companies during 1995 to 2002. While in South Africa, external equity financed 18% of total asset growth between 1996 and 2000. So generally, the stock market, we all know, is a great complementer to the banking sector. So if you definitely want to grow and want to see your business move on to the next level, you can rest assured that there is great opportunity in delving into the stock markets. I thought I'd also share with you what maybe we need to do to also just promote stock market development in Africa, and share some lessons, some things that maybe we need to ponder on as Botswana. Full automation, yes, we do. We're looking for full automation to drive efficiency and just information symmetry, and to also be able to attract shareholders across the continent and indeed the world. So we need more automation, Mr. CEO. Regional integration. If you look at some of the stock exchanges, especially in your Francophone countries, they have looked at having regional exchanges. We have an opportunity as well as SADC of considering something like that. This will address some issues, the current issues that we have of illiquidity and small size of our stock market fragmentation. Maybe it's not attainable in the short term, but maybe something to put inside your strategy book as you ponder on ways in which you can grow this market. I know you alluded to demutualization of the exchange, and I'm glad to note that that's something that was also top of mind, and that's the way you should be going, and I'm glad that you are already on that path. Okay. And then in terms of some lessons, some of the things to consider. Consider establishing an alternative boss for small-scale businesses with less stringent requirements so that it's not that onerous. Because the more companies you attract, the more stability that we build, the more governance, better governance that we'll have. And I'm pleased to note that with the BTC also coming on board and listing with the IPO that has just closed, it is pleasing to know that we have this parastatal that has listed, but which other ones can we do? There are more that we can look at listing and further deepen our financial markets. We need to start developing a secondary trading market for some of those listed bonds that we have. 13, I think that's what you mentioned, is just not enough. We need to list more bonds and also encourage trade. And also develop products that will attract those institutional investor funds that are currently sitting offshore that we can bring onto the stock market in Botswana. And also consider fungibility for those dual-listed shares. So those are some of the things that I believe if we can seriously consider as a stock exchange, we can definitely ensure that our stock market does indeed become a key catalyst for growth. Okay. In the next part of this agenda, I've just looked at several companies that have taken this path or taken this bold step, and then I will conclude. Okay. But before that, just some key issues to consider for a listed company before you expand to other countries. Definitely there are opportunity and rewards, but there are some big risks. But before you delve into that, I think my colleagues from the industry also touched on it. You need to ensure that your home operations are strong and sound. That may seem as if it's very basic, but if you've built a strong reputation, you've got a team, you've got a client base, and you have a good understanding of your industry in your market, it's now tried and tested, you've done it. Therefore, you can replicate or choose a market where you know it would be a good fit, and you can replicate that performance. And furthermore, careful choice of markets that make good business sense. Sometimes they do say that good common sense, is quite, you need to apply it in business just as much as in everyday life. Understand how the business and services will need to adjust to whatever the cultural differences. Spend the time, get to know the market that you're going into so that when you choose a market in which to list or in which to advance into, you have done your homework. Those cultural nuances, understanding of whether it's your logistics, it is so important because some bad decisions can emanate from that. And then also just keeping your stakeholders informed of your expansion plans. Disclose what you are wanting to do and you mean to do to your customers and your shareholders, and how you can also, and that will help you promote what your strategy is and for them to understand exactly where you're going. Therefore, it is really, these are basic common sense things that one needs to look into as they expand into other countries. I took Letsego, and I wanted to share with you the journey. I'm sure, Com, you'll explain it better when you come up here. So if there are any mistakes, it's not my fault. It's a typo from the guys who put this together. But this is the journey that Letsego took. And who would have thought a homegrown company, once again, from 1998 to 2014, look where they are now, and the steps, leaps, and bounds that they have taken. And definitely a journey that is well commendable. If you look at an Insco for me is another inspiration. Most of you may not know it, but it's your Creamy Inns, your pizza. I think it's your Pizza Inn. They've just opened here in, is it Shell? In one of the Shells. They've gone into a partnership with Shell. So also began as a very small company. But once again, who says just because you're in Zimbabwe, we all know, we think Zimbabwe, ooh, terrible, but so many things have come out of that country. Amazingly resilient. Yes, maybe I am biased. My mom is Zimbabwean, and I grew up there. But I can tell you, very resilient people, and we can share quite a few stories, maybe later on in the break, on some of the great companies that are listed on the Zimbabwean Stock Exchange. If for me, that is not enough encouragement for you, some of the companies that are sitting around here, to see that you've got this amazing country being Botswana with so many things that are good going for it. Maybe the market is not the largest one, but the kind of challenges that you have in Zimbabwe compared to Botswana are next to none. Therefore, there is definitely scope for us to list and really catapult ourselves into the African diaspora. Okay, Choppies, need I say more? I'm not gonna say anything, Mr. Ram. We all know what has happened. And once again, a great story of what is possible and what can happen. You know, you think about it from those Lubatse days, who would have thought that this is where Choppies would end up? So indeed, it is possible, you know, for you to use the stock market to go and expand internationally or into the various markets that we have. I just wanted to share some details. Once again, if there's any data issues, just whisper to me and we will change it. But we know that, for example, with regards to Choppies, in 2012, they floated 1.2 billion shares on the domestic main board. They were able to raise that amount of money. It's all public knowledge. And this is just to show you what you are able to raise, the funding that is available. If you are a company that has built a reputation, your success, your track record is traceable, you are able to raise funding on the stock market. You look at Insco, same, they were able to raise funding, they were able to go in, sell shares, raise funds, and expand. They are in numerous countries right now in Africa. Same with Litseho. So it is possible. As I said, the last part of my presentation was indeed to demonstrate that you can use the stock market as a source of capital to expand into Africa and other markets. So maybe just to punt our bank a bit as well, we at Bank ABC, we say we are reshaping African banking. Yes, we are the new kids on the block, but we believe that together we can create value with you as BSE through listing. And as Bank ABC, we will partner with the stock exchange to take large, medium, and top-end SMEs into the African diaspora. We will invest time. And I think any of you and some of you that have sat with us, you can rest assured that we do actually invest our time in working with you through your strategies, building solid business and execution plans. And we will work with your companies to ensure that you achieve the exponential growth that you are looking for until you list on the Botswana Stock Exchange. So we will also commit that because we are on the African continent, we will deliberately facilitate whatever regional expansion opportunities that we see, and we will direct them to you. Thank you.